Hi everyone, Sandy here, Blooms and Lace Paper Creations. Today we are going to be making our Mother's Day card. So I'll just want to show you that. It's got a nice little box to put it in as a gift box and inside the card. I did just want to mention, if you wanted to make this card but not for Mother's Day, you could easily change your sentiment to happy birthday or whatever sentiment you need to put in there. All right, so let's get started. Taking our first sheet of white cardstock, we are going to cut this 11 inches. So we're going to measure across and we're going to cut at 11 inches. So if we just use our cutter, and we're just going to cut that at 11 inches. Then we're going to turn it around and we're going to measure across 7 inches. So we're going to mark it to our 7-inch point here, and once again we're going to cut. Okay, then we've got another 2 sheets of white cardstock, and we're going to cut both of these down to 6.5 by 8.5. So once again, we'll do the 8.5 along the long side, so measuring at 8.5 and cut, and then turn it and measure it at 6.5 and cut. And we will do that for both of the sheets. Now I have mine pre-done here. So here's my 3. So here's my 2 pieces at 6.5 by 8.5, and my 1 piece here at 11 inches by 7 inches. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take the large piece. We need a scoreboard. We need our scoreboard now. So bring our scoreboard in, and we're going to score this along the 11 inch. So we put the 11-inch side down, and we're going to score this at 5 inches. So just taking your scorer, score that at 5 inches, and we're going to score it at 5 7/8. Now the 7/8, for those that aren't familiar with 8s and 16ths, is the mark before the 6. If you have a ruler like mine, I think you'll be able to see that all right. And you've got, if we look here, we've got the big line here and the little line. The little line is a 16th and the large line is an 8th. So we want the large line, which is an 8th, depending on your scorer. So on my scorer, I'm just going to go to the line before the 6 and score. So that's our first piece scored. Now the second piece, we're just going to use one of these for the moment, and we're going to score this all the way around at 3/4 of an inch. So we go to our scorer and we find our 3/4 of an inch, and we're just going to score, turn it, score, turn it, score, turn it. Okay, so it's scored three, I hope you can see that, scored at 3/4 of an inch all the way around. So we have our sheet of pattern paper here, and what we're going to do, so having the flowers to the top right hand side, we're going to measure down from there to 7 inches, and we're going to cut along the 7-inch mark. Once we've done that, with our top section, we're going to measure it from this end again. We're going to measure across 5 and cut, and from this side we're going to measure across 5 and cut. You will have a strip left in the middle, which will be 2 inches by 7 inches. Then at the bottom, we've got the bottom sheet. We're going to, the bottom piece, we're going to measure from the right hand side across 7 inches, and we're going to cut. So what we will end up with, I will just show you. The same sheet of paper, you'll have your right hand side 7 by 5, you'll have your middle piece, which is 2 by 7, and your left hand side, which is also 7 by 5. Then at the bottom you will have your piece here, which is the end bit, which is 7 across and 5 wide, so you'll have this little strip here left over, and then you'll have this piece here. So that's how we need to cut our pattern paper. So once again, 7 by 5, 2 by 7, 7 by 5, 7 by 5, and this little piece left over, which I didn't actually measure, which will be 5 by 5 and a, oh, that should actually be 12 overall, shouldn't it? So it's a little bit bigger than 12, but anyway, so you should have this little piece left over, which is about 5 3/8. All right, so what we're going to do next, we're going to take this, we're going to put all these other pieces aside for the moment, and we're just going to work with this piece here. We're actually going to use the reverse side of this piece, and we're going to ink the outside edge. Now I am using Memento ink, and the colour that I'm using is Grape Jelly. So any purple ink will work, but that's just the one that I've chosen. So I'm just going to ink around the outside edges with my dauber. We try, just, you know, takes away that white edge for when you're putting things together. Okay, so once you've done that, you need to find the piece that you put aside, which was the 6.5 by 8.5 that we scored at 3/4 all the way around. And we're actually going to glue this inside the score line. So you should just, that should fit perfectly inside your score line. So if you get your glue and just glue on the back. Once again, I'm using the Art Glitter Dries Clear glue. So we just want to sit that right inside the score line, so that fits nicely in there. Right, so we'll just let that dry a minute. Right, so now we've got our, I've just turned that over, so we've got our piece here that's glued on. We're going to just turn that over, and we're going to, from the score line, we are going to measure in 3/4 of an inch from the score line. So that will, and just make a mark. So we want 3/4 there. So that will come into 4 1/4 on the other side. So 3/4 from the left-hand side and 4 1/4 on the right-hand side. And we'll do that top and bottom. Lining that up. And 4 1/4 there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to draw that line across there on both. Okay, and then we now need to do it on this one. So from the score line once again, which will be on your 7, so it'll be 3/4 and 6 1/4. Top and bottom. 3/4, 6 1/4, and we're going to draw those lines as well. So I'll try and keep it straight for everybody. Okay, so that is what we should have now. So we've come in 1/4 of an inch from the score lines and marked. So now using our craft knife, we are going to cut this out. So we need to cut the inside edge out. So just using your craft knife. If you have a cutter and you prefer to do that on your cutter, probably get a straighter line, then you could do that with your cutter, and I'll show you that next. We're just going to come along there and cut along that line. If you have your cutter, sorry, just grab the cutter, you can do it on your cutter, and my cutter actually has the wire there to line it up, so you can get your cutter, hope you can see that, and just go along that line and cut. And that might just need to finish that off. So there's 2 ways of doing that. I might just keep using my cutter just to get my lines a little bit straighter. And do the last one. then you might just need to finish the corners off with your craft knife if you didn't quite reach it. Just make sure you don't tear it, that you use your craft knife. I hope that cut all the way through. I'm just going to check that. You might just need to go follow your line with your craft knife just for the double sheets of paper. That's better. Gives you a nice guide to cut that along. Right, nearly there. Oh, just this one now. Beautiful. Okay, and then while you've got your ink, we'll just get our ink and just ink the inside of that as well. Just get our dauber, just ink the inside. So make that all around, so that will be, that's it. Okay, so on to the next. Taking our second piece of white cardstock that was 8.5 by 6.5, we're going to score that at 3/4 of an inch all the way around as well. So we're just going to score that. I've already pre-scored mine, but just to show you, 3/4 all the way around the four sides. Right, so that's, and this is now going to be the base of our box. So what we need to do, we need to get our scissors, and if you can see here on these little score lines, we just need to cut up on one of them. So we just take our scissors and just cut to the score line. So we do that both sides there and on the other side. We're just going to cut that up. Now, if you want to, with these, so because they are now scored, so we're going to fold those now on that score line, you can just take a little tiny piece out, like a little V like that. So that just on both edges. So just take a little V on the inside one. Sorry, I hope you can see that. I was holding it up. So we're just going to cut like that. Cut that off. And this will just make it tidier when you fold your box, make it easier to glue. It doesn't have to be any particular size, just however you do it. Okay. Right, so now we will turn it and we need to just fold it in. So we're just going to fold in those score lines. So fold them all in. Okay, and then we will bring the flap on the inside for the base of our box, and we're just going to glue that. Okay, so if we just put a little bit of glue on the tab, and we bring that in and just try and line that up with the corner score. If you can see that on there. And we're going to do that with all four corners. Okay, so now we have our box. So what we need to do, we need to find our piece of pattern paper, this particular one here, which is 7 by 5, and I think I'm actually going to cut that down slightly, because when we measure our box, even though it is 5 inches, I think we'll just cut 1/8 of an inch off both sides. So if you just get your cutter and we measure to, we want it at 4 7/8, so we're just going to take it 1/8 of an inch off the side, and we're also going to take 1/8 of an inch, so that'll be 6 7/8. So we're just going to cut that down to 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. And we will also ink the edges of that paper. Find my little door. We're just going to ink the edges. I think I need to change the blade on my cutter. It seems to be furring the paper a little bit. But once you put the ink on, you don't really notice that. Just a little tip there, don't stress too much. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to glue that into the bottom of our box. So that sits in there just nicely, making sure when you glue it in, you get it centered. So we'll do that right now. Sorry if my head gets in the way here a minute. Just going to glue that in. Okay. All right, so that's the base of our box ready to go. Okay, so in your kit you will have this sheet here, and what we need to do, we need to actually cut each one of these out. So we're going to cut all of these out, and then we're going to fussy cut all the leaves and flowers. So you'll have the 6 cards and all the flowers and leaves, so you need to fussy cut that. Once you've got all your fussy cutting done, you'll also find in your kit this die here. So this is what we're going to use next. So if you find that, and we're just going to glue that down to the back of our base piece there. A bit of glue around. Okay, we're going to stick that in probably about half an inch from the top and centering left to right. Okay, then with the die cuts that we've just cut out, you'll find this little piece. That's the one with the flowers at the top and the bottom, and I think it probably goes, which way will we have it? I think we'll make it go that way. So we've got the large flowers to the top and the smaller ones to the bottom. And we're actually just going to glue that down as well. So we're going to glue that down. So that's the next step. Or we might ink around the edge. Let's do that. Get our ink again. We might just ink around the edge of that just to give it a little bit more colour. Get rid of those white edges. Okay, so just going to glue on the back of that. And we're going to glue that down. We're going to centre that pretty much left and right, top and bottom. Just centre that in there. Okay, now you will also have this little die cut. Just check and make sure all the little bits have been poked out. Looks like it has been. And we've also got, out of the tag sheet, we've got, let me see which one we use, this one here. So we're actually going to fussy cut this out of the tag. So once you've cut this piece out, the card, we're going to once again go and fussy cut, and that's that piece there. We're going to fussy cut that out of there, and we're also going to ink the edges of that as well. So we're just going to go around and just ink the edges. bit hard to get into all the little nooks and crannies, but close enough's good enough today. Okay. Then we're actually going to put that on this here. So we're going to, just trying to decide whether I'm going to mount that or I'm going to mount the bottom. I think we will mount the bottom. So we're just going to glue that straight on there. So your flowers are facing up, and just try and, you know, centre it best you can. Okay, beautiful. Then using some mounting tape, we'll put a bit of mounting tape on the back. Just add that bit of mounting tape there. Okay, turn it back over, and then we're going to centre that to the card, like so. Okay, I'll just put the lid back on my glue because we won't be needing that for a few minutes. Okay, so we'll just put that to the side for a moment. Now you'll find in your flower bag that these are the flowers you're going to need. So we need 2 of the little pink ones, the larger pink one, and the purple one. So what we do, we get this, and because it's on a wire, what I do, I just get my little flower and I decide where I'd like that to sit. So I'm sort of thinking we could put it in there, and then I just wind that, just move those out of the way, and I just wind that around the flower just to hold it in there. Okay, so that's going to go up there, and then the other one I'll probably put down here a little bit, and I'll just wind that around, just move that one out of the way. Wind that around. Like so. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're actually going to bend this around just a little bit because we want to sort of make it into a half circle, because we're going to sort of sit it around like that. So when you sit it in there, just have a little look at how the flowers are sitting, because you want the flowers to be facing up. So then just go around and bend those flowers up a little bit. Bend those up. So you can see the front of the flower, like so. And we're now going to glue that in there. So we're just going to attach some glue to the back of that. And I just mainly put it a little bit on each flower and a little bit down the stem. I don't do all the flowers, like these ones at the bottom here I won't do, because we actually want them to sit up a little bit so it doesn't look too flat. Okay, and we get it into position to where we want it, and we just hold it down just for a minute for the glue to take. And you've still got the opportunity just to pull a couple of those flowers up if you want to have them up, just so it looks nice. Okay, now with this purple flower, I just cut the back of these flowers off a little bit. I don't cut them too far because you don't want the stamens to fall out. And then when you put the glue on the back, I always stick it under the stamen, so when you put it down, then it glues the stamens as well. And I think that one could probably go in between those two. I'll put that one in there. Okay, and then we've got our large one here. Before I put the large one in though, you will have some ribbon. So you need to cut a piece of ribbon roughly 1/2 metre. And we're going to make a double bow. Now, I'll teach you all how I make my double bow. So with my, I'm right-handed, so it might be a little bit harder for the left-handed people, but okay, so I just hold it with my thumb, and I put the middle finger to the back, so I'm using my pointer and my index finger, ring finger and index finger. Let's do that again. Okay, so we're going to wrap it around the back, and then we come across and around, across and around. You might want to do this in slow motion, and then bring it back to your thumb. So the first piece that was under your thumb, you're now going to take over the back, bring it down underneath, and then see the loop that we've got there. We're going to put that through that loop. Pull that through that loop. Now, the width of your bow will be dependent on how far apart your fingers are. So if you want it to be quite a smaller bow, then just bring your fingers together and just pull it tight, and that will give you your double bow. So if you didn't get that, just rewind and play it slowly. Okay, I will be doing another one as well later on. So that makes your double bow. And then I just cut the little tails off on a bit of an angle. And then I'm actually going to sit that. Just got to work out where that's going to go. I'm going to sit that in there. I might need to cut my tails off a little bit more. So I'm going to sit that in there. Work out where I want to sit it. I might need to put that flower in. I'm just going to have a look before I do that. Tuck that. Yeah, so I think something like that will look really nice. So I will put the bow in. I am going to cut the tails off my bow a little bit more, just make them a little bit shorter. Bit of glue on the back there. I'm just going to push that up under that little flower there. You're not going to see a lot of it once you get the top on anyway, but it just adds a little bit. Pull that down a fraction. Okay, and then this flower here, I think I'm just going to push in the corner and push it into the bow a little bit so the bow sits up, because we've got the depth in the card to do that. So once again, I'll just cut those little bits off the back of the flower, add the glue, and find where you want to put it. And it won't matter if you see the bottom of the flower there. Okay, so we're just going to stick that in there. Right, so that's got that part done. So what we're going to do now, we've got the top of our box, which we have. So we're going to do the same as we did for the bottom of the box, and we're just going to cut in the same. And cut the little V's like we did before on each of the 4 corners. Oops. Just make sure you definitely cut on that score line, otherwise it just won't fold in very nicely. Last one. Okay, so now we are just going to once again make a box. So we just need to glue the 4 corners. Put a bit of glue on there, lining it up. Make sure you line that corner up nice and close. One. Okay, so we've got our box. So this now has to go over the top, and this actually will hold the box together. Now you might just have to be a little bit careful how you put this together. You will just have to get that box nice and tight. Now, once you've done that, I do go around and try and put a little bit of glue up underneath just to hold it. So if you just hold that open, get your glue under there and just run a line, that will just hold it all together. Just do it from the inside like that. Okay. You don't have to do all sides. You can just do the 2 sides, but I will probably do all my sides. Getting your fingers inside. Okay. And it just holds the box nice together when you put it in your card. Oops, my little bow didn't stick properly. It's a bit naughty. Okay, that one, just got to do this top one. You might find, if you can see mine in the corner there, that it's just buckled a little bit. You just need to make sure that you put that together when you're gluing it together. So make sure that that's in nice and even. Okay, so we've got all that. So the next thing then that we have to do is actually add this. Sorry, I'm just checking what's happened here. Just need to push that back in. Okay, so we've got our main card piece, and this is actually going to sit on there. But before we glue that on there, we need to make sure that we've got our ribbon. So we're going to get another piece of ribbon, and cut it about 25 centimeters each piece, should be good enough. And just cut it in half. And we actually want to glue, so we're going to glue it in on the center of the card on the right hand side. So if you just put a bit of glue there, and that's just to hold it. So you only need to probably have about 1 inch. That's probably enough. And that will just hold it there while we glue the back of our card and sit our card on there. So we just make sure we get some glue on the back here. And the most important thing is that we get the right hand side lined up with the right hand side. So you just need to make sure that you get that so it sits within those score lines. Be sure that looks really, so that then when it closes, that will actually close over the card. Just make sure that's going to be right. Okay. Perfect. All right, so we'll move on to the next step. So we'll probably do this side of the card next. So what you need to do this side of the card is we have the piece that we cut out of the center here. We're going to use that. So we need that, and then we had the leftover piece as well from the bottom. So we're going to use that as well. Now it will be slightly wider. So we're going to make sure we cut it down. Now I think if we've done our measurements, it is actually roughly 5 1/8. So if we cut this down to 5, so we just want to cut this down to 5. So if you just get your cutter, and it just, whichever side you'd like to take off. I think I'm going to take this pink flower side off. So I'm just going to cut that down to 5. Make sure it's on the 5. I'm just going to take that off. Won't need that little scrap piece. And then we're going to ink around the edge of that as well. Just get our ink. I'm going to ink around that. You don't have to do the bottom edge, but you know, while you're inking, you may as well. So we need that, and then this also we need to cut. This one we also need to cut down to 5, and we'll ink around it as well. So if we just cut that down to to 5. Sorry, I'm going to turn that around. I've got a little bit of a rough edge there, so I'm just going to cut that off. Okay. And I'm going to ink around that as well. And this is going to make our pocket. And because it's already backed, because we cut it from the centre, it's got that backing on it to make it just that little bit stronger. Okay, so we'll glue this on now. So we'll just make sure that fits. What do they say? Measure twice, cut once. And we'll just attach that to the card. So I'm just, sorry, excuse my head. Just going to attach that. And it just gives you a nice little white edge as well, which is what we want. Okay. And then with this piece, we only need to glue the 2 sides and the bottom. So otherwise you won't have your pocket. So we just glue around there and around there. And then we just attach that, lining it up with the left-hand side, and it should just be beautiful. Look at that. Okay. Okay, now with our die cut that we've got, it is slightly longer, and I should have actually put this on before we cut it, but I'm thinking whether I'm going to turn it, have it this way or this way, but I think for this card, we will put it up this way. So if you have a look, I'm just going to work out where I want to sit it, I think I'm just going to sit it there. So you can see at the top, I'm going to line the top of the pocket up with those 2 there, and you can see on the sides where we'll cut it off. We can cut this off once we've glued it on, but on this side we can't. So if we cut the one side, and I'm just going to cut it straight through there, and I'll just put that on. Yeah, so and then that will make that side just as nice. Okay, now when you're going to glue it, of course you don't want to glue the whole lot. You only need to glue where we're going to be attaching it, sorry. So I would just have a look at it, and then you'll know whereabouts you're going to glue it. So you just need to put the glue just a little bit there. So if you wanted to, you could actually attach this to your pocket before you glue it on, and then it won't matter. You won't need to do what I did and try and work out where to cut it and where to glue it. So we'll just attach that. I'm thinking about there, just maybe down a fraction so we don't see it there. And we're just going to attach that there, and then I'm just going to cut that little side bit off. Just need to put a little bit more glue. I'll just have a look at that and see whether I put glue on there or not. I did not. So I just put a little bit of glue there and there. And then that will come down and stick. And that makes your new pocket. Okay, so the next thing we can do is we have this little piece left over of pattern paper as well. We're going to measure and put it in our spine. So it's up to you whether, I think we could probably do it. This side would look really pretty, and then we'll use the other bit, so don't throw the other bit away, because we're going to use that on our spine on the outside. So we'll have that. So I'm just going to measure that. I'll measure it from the outside. So I think if we cut it at, we've got 2 inches to play with. So I think if we cut it at 3/4 of an inch, that should be enough. 3/4 by, what do we need? 3/4 by, well, we could go 6 7/8. So if we just cut this at 3/4, and I've just realised that my cutter here doesn't do any larger than 6, so I'll have to get my other cutter. So we're going to cut it at 3/4. And then we need to cut it. I just like my little guillotine, it just cuts a lot nicer. And then we want it at 6 7/8. Sorry, I hope you can all still see this. 6 7/8. Okay, so we're just going to cut that at 6 7/8. So it's only a tiny little bit that we take off. And we'll ink around the outside of that as well. We'll just ink around the outside. I should have probably checked that it fits first. What did I say earlier? Measure twice, cut once. Sometimes I don't listen to my own advice. But anyway, it'll be fine. Okay, so let's have a look. We're going to do it that way. Let's have a look. Perfect. So we'll glue that in as well. So we're gluing on the lavender side. Okay, we're just going to glue that in there. Beautiful. Okay, so we also have another die cut piece, and we're actually going to attach that to this side. So we're going to do it roughly the same. Where I've attached it there, we'll probably attach it about the same on that side. So if you want to just get that, and then just glue once again, pick your line and just glue. And this one you won't have to cut because it just goes the whole way. So making sure you've got your glue bits there. Okay, we're just going to centre that and attach that. About there. I think that looks pretty straight. And that will just go there like that. Right, so we still do have to decorate this here, which I've got some flowers to decorate. We're going to use some of our fussy cut flowers on this. So we've just got some of these. I just picked out 4 flowers and 2 leaves. And I thought, oh, we can just put them on there. So I'm sort of thinking, you know, if we just tuck one little flower under there and just arrange them however you want to arrange them. Something like that would be nice. And we can just put that on there. And that way, if you wanted to, you could move it over slightly more to the left-hand side, and you could, you know, put a little sentiment in there if you wanted to. That's a personal choice. If you don't decide to use this as a Mother's Day card, you want to use it as a birthday card, then you could just put a little birthday message in there. Now we will ink around our flowers and leaves. So if we just give that a little bit of ink around the edges of the flowers, and then we're just going to attach those. If you wanted to, you could also use a little bit of mounting tape just to give that a couple of them. The only thing you have to be careful of is when you close your card, you need to make sure that those flowers go inside the box, otherwise they're going to get caught and it's going to you're going to have a bit of a problem there, and it'll probably pull them off, and that won't be good. So I'll just get these quickly inked. Okay, so I think I'll do the 2 leaves first. So I'll just put one there. And one there. I like to overlap my leaves just a little bit. And then I'll probably put the big flower, and I might actually lift that flower up. So I'm just going to check when I close that, if I sit it there, that's definitely going to go inside. So I'll just get a little bit of mounting tape. And put that on the back of the flower. Once again, this is optional. And just sit that up so that it sits up quite pretty there. And then the other one, you know, you could tuck them in underneath, or you could, you know, do another one with a bit of mounting tape. Just tuck that one under there. I might just put 2 together down here. Just like that. So pretty much, apart from a couple of little bits of bling, we've nearly finished doing the inside of our card. We've got to make our tags, but you would have got 2 of these little flowers. So you just need to, I'm going to attach one of those. Now I will put a little bit of glue on. I'm just going to put one on the center of this flower. I just like to use glue because sometimes when you pull them off, they don't always come off. And the other one, I think I might just save that for the front. So then we also have some of these, which we will add as well. So we might add, I'll just have a look at where we're going to add those. We might just put, you know, three along here and 3 along here. I think that would be quite pretty. No, and so, all right, but anyway, I'll think about that, where we're going to put those. We do need to do our tags. Now, you will have some white cardstock left over, and we're just going to make a tag, because this is the tag that you're actually going to write your message to your mum on this card for Mother's Day. So if you make a tag, now the tag that I've cut out, basically I'll just have a look. I've cut that, so that's going to sit in there like that. So basically my tag, because you know I like to write my mum a really nice message, and you know put a lot of thought into what I'm saying, so a nice bit of room. If you don't want to do that, you could make your tag a bit smaller, but this particular tag, I've made it is, you know, 6 1/4 inches by 3 1/4 inches. And what I'll do, I'll just get a little bit of ribbon. I've got a little bit left over here from, oh no, that's going to, sorry, I'm not going to use that bit, that's for the front of my, just going to cut a little bit of ribbon here. And then I'm just going to go and feed that through the tag. I just used a hole punch to punch my hole, and I just pull that through the tag. Now, if you wanted to, you could put a little bit of glue underneath just to hold those in place. Like so, just cut the edges, and that's going to be my tag that I'm going to put my message to Mum. I'm actually thinking I might cut that down a little bit so that we don't see as much sticking out the top. I'll just have a look at that. I might actually cut that down to 4 inches. Sorry. We learn these things as we're going along, don't we? So we'll just cut that down. I'll make that about 4 1/4. I'll cut that to 4 1/4. So I've just cut the bottom off the tag there, and then I'll stick that in. I'll still get a nice message in there for my mum. Okay, so that's that. And then the other one that we're doing, I've just used once again one of the cards, and I just thought we have, you know, another piece of paper left over this size, I would actually add that to there and cut it and make a tag. So if we glue that, if we cut across the corner here, we just cut across the corner, oh, move those little bits off the card. And then we're going to just glue that on. I will ink around this one. I might even ink around the other one as well yet. Okay. And I will stick that on the white card just to give it an edge. And then if you wanted to, you could also write something on the back of that as well. Just centering that roughly with the paper that we've got left over. Good thing about that glue, it does give you a little bit of wiggle room. I'm going to cut this off. We'll trim those little corners off. Probably about there. About there. Oop. Get it right there. And we'll just poke a little hole through there. So I'll turn that up so I can see what I'm doing. Roughly about, try and centre that. Put the hole, my hole punch is a bit sad. Try that again, didn't quite punch. I'll just do that again. Okay. And then if you want to cut another little bit of ribbon, we'll do the same. Cut another piece of ribbon. You only probably need about 10 centimetres. Once again, we thread it through the front and bring it back to the back. So both pieces to the front. Bring them back and up through like so. Get that little bit of glue under there just to hold it in place. Just give them a little bit of a pull apart. Cut those off. Whoops, make them straight cut. Beautiful. So I think I will just ink around this as well. So that might just look a bit nice, just to ink around them. Okay. All right, so then we've got our two tags in there, which look really pretty. And then once again, we'll just add a little bit of bling. So I just use my poker tool. It's a bit seen better days. And I just pull it off. And once again, I will probably add a little bit of glue because I just think that otherwise they tend to fall off. So I think we'll just put maybe one on this one in the middle here, and one over here. I think we'll just put 3. That'll be quite pretty. So then we just put them on. The second one in the middle. And the last one we can just put over here. And I'll probably do the same over this side, this side as well. I'll put one there, one in the middle, and one here as well. So just a little bit of glue. 1, 2, 3. Stick them on. They're a little bit fiddly, but that's why I use my poker tool. Okay, so that really is the inside finished. So now we will move on to the front cover. Right, so we've finished the inside of our card now. So now we're going to decorate the front. We need another piece of ribbon, about 25 centimetres long, and we need to line it up with this, with the ribbon on the back. So we just need to put, sorry, my head's probably going to get in the way for just a moment, but I'm just going to have a quick look and just come in probably about 1 inch with our glue, lining up with the other ribbon, and we're just going to attach that. So they should be pretty much in line. I'm just going to pick that up and have a quick look where the glue's still a bit wet. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so that's going to go there. Now, we've got this last sheet of paper that we've got left over. So you need to just, once again, ink around your edges, which I've already done. Ink around the edges of your paper, and we're going to attach that onto the front. Just glue around the edge, a little bit in the middle. Maybe just put a little bit of glue on top of the ribbon, just to hold it in position. Okay, and we're going to put the flowers down to the bottom left-hand side, and we just want that nice around like so. And we're also, while we're doing that, we'll do our spine. So we needed we had this little bit left over. We need to cut that at 3/4 of an inch by 6 7/8. This is why I love this little guillotine. It makes it so easy for cutting. So 3/4 of an inch. And it was 6 7/8. So we just cut a little tiny bit off the bottom. Okay. And I'll just check that before I glue that on. Let me just have a look. Perfect. And once again, we're going to quickly ink around the edges of that so we can glue that on, and then that's our spine done. I didn't put anything on the back of my card. I don't think it needs it, but I just thought it'd be nice to put something on the spine. You could hang something off the spine if you wanted to. You could put some wording, lots of options there. So we'll just stick that spine on. Okay, that's all glued down nicely. Okay, so in your list of things, in your little packet of goodies, we've got some things left over. So we need our doily. The doily is going to sit closer to the top, so probably about a ½ inch down. I just glue around the inside edge and just around the outside. Don't put too much. You can, if you want, just dot the little back of the flowers. That's all you really need. We're coming about ½ inch down, centering left to right. I'm just going to stick that on. Then you will find you have another little, another one of your cards. So this card here, I've actually cut the card out, which you've already done, but then I've cut around this doily and cut it out. What I've done, I've come in here and cut around because I want to retain this piece, so which will give you, see here where I've come in and cut, because I want to keep that, and then I've cut around the doily. So we're going to put this on next, and we're just going to glue that down. So I'll probably have mine so you can see a little bit of the top of the doily like so. Once again, I will ink around the edges of that just to give it a little bit, take those white edges away. Okay, and then we're just going to add our bit of glue to the back. And we're just going to add that on. So we're probably going to sit at about just above the inside part of the doily there. That's going to sit on there nicely. Then we've got our die cut. We're going to put our die cut over the top of that. So what that does for us, it does hide where we've cut. So we're just going to add that on as well. And just go around with our glue. A little bit around the top and the bottom. And we're going to attach that over there. Okay. Then we've got our little doily part that we cut out. We'll just ink around the edge of that as well. And with this one, we're going to use our mounting tape, and we're going to mount it up. So we get our mounting tape, scissors. Keep putting things down, I can't find them. A little bit of mounting tape. Now, you just have to be a little bit careful where you position this, because it should really fit back into where it was, but we just want to make sure that we just sit it. Oops. Sorry, my head's going to probably get in the way while I line this up. I've just got to line this up properly. There we go, that's where it goes. And you want to put it more to the top than the bottom, because we're actually going to cover the bottom. So we're just going to mount that up. Now you'll see here I've got a little bit there. That is fine. So I put the pink flower to the top, because we're actually going to cover that with our sentiment. So if we get our sentiment, and once again I will ink around the outside of our sentiment. Bit over just to give it a bit of colour. And what I want to do with this, I want to glue it down and then fold it up a little bit. So we're just going to put glue on this edge. So just put glue on there. We'll put that about there, hold it down till it sticks, and then on the other end we'll just put a little bit of glue and we're going to hold that down so it just sits up a little bit like that, so it gives it just another dimension. And then when we've got our flowers, we're just going to add our flowers on. So I'm probably just going to cover the hole on the left hand side with the petal of the flower, so we'll glue that on. So I'll just put that like that. It doesn't matter if it comes over the edge a little bit. Whoops, sorry, just put that back on there. Okay, and once again we cut the stamens off. And I'm going to tuck one in here. The other one down the other side, like so. Sticking that in. And then we've got our little pink flower. I'll just cut the wire piece off that. Two options: you could actually use your stamen and roll this wire. Get the use your pricking tool, or you could use a skewer and just roll that up like so. And then when you take it off, it's got a little bit of a tail, and that looks quite pretty. So we might just do that. And then we're just going to might just sit that in there. Maybe in there. Yeah, just put it in there. Okay, you will have some leaves left over. So you can, tuck a couple of leaves in, so just wherever you think they look nice. I'd like to put, 2 up here. And once again, I always overlap my leaves. So I'll put that one in there. I might put one leaf over where I just spilt that glue. Nobody saw that. Just there. And then I'll put 2 more little leaves in here. I'll just put one there. And one there. Just underneath the big large flower there. Okay, now the only thing we have to do then is we just need to get our little bling flower, and I'm going to put it over this hole, so just put a little bit of glue there. Take that off. Whoops, wants to stay on my finger. Just put that in there. And then we do have some little bling bits left. So I think we'll put one up here over this little hole, and we might put one here, and we'll put one over here. Let's put one there. One over here, over the top of the hole. Side here. Okay, well, that pretty much concludes making our card, and of course then to finish it off, all we do is we just take the 2 pieces of ribbon and tie it into a bow, and that's pretty much, if you've got some ribbon left over, you might want to tie a double bow and tuck it in, but I think that's enough. All right then, well, we'll be back in a minute to do the box. Right, we're going to make a box now to put our card in. So you will have in your pack 2 more sheets of the white cardstock. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut the first one at 9 3/4 by 8. So if you cut that, and then you're going to score around the outside at 1 1/4 inch all the way around. The second piece that you've got, we're going to cut that at 9 7/8 by 8 1/8, and once again score at 1 1/4 inches all the way around. And that way you will have your box. I've already started to put mine together so we're not holding everyone up too much. So once again, same principle as before. We're just going to cut, make your little V on either side, and glue your box together like we did when we made our card. So we're just doing the same principle. Just going to keep that together, making sure that the corners meet up nicely, both sides. Okay, so the first one that you did, the 9 3/4 by 8, which is this one that I have here, this is your bottom. So we're just going to put that to one side, and the other one that's ready to go is our top, which was the 9 7/8 by 8 1/8. And we're just going to decorate the top. In your pack, you will have another one of these. So I just want you to get your ink, and we're just going to ink it all over just to give it a bit of colour. So it looks like this. You will have your 2 tags left, a yellow one and a lavender one. So we're going to use both of those. So what we're going to do, we're going to put one of the cards down, put the die cut on top, and then we're going to tuck this one in to give it a bit of a different sort of effect. So what we need to do first of all is glue this one down a little bit on an angle. So that's approximately 1/4 inch from the top and 1/4 inch from the left hand side. With this now, we want to have this this way so that when we put it on, so I would suggest hold it, turn it over, and just put a little bit of glue on the back of, on the back there. Hold that down, and then you can turn it around, put a little bit of glue on the other side, and that just holds it in place. And then we're going to put that on there like so. We might bring it down just a fraction. I'm going to line up the center with the side of the first one. So I'll just put a little bit of glue on that. And I'm going to glue that down. Okay. So then we've got our leftover flowers, and I've already inked around the edges of mine. So we're just going to put them in the corner. We also will have some ribbon left over. So once again, we're going to tie a nice double bow. You should have plenty of ribbon left over. This one I might make slightly bigger than the last one. I'm going to put that on the bottom. Whoops. Just tucking that through, pulling it tight. I'm going to cut the ends, and we're going to sit that on our box. So we'll probably glue that on our box so it sits nicely there. So we'll just glue that on. Just glue that on there, and then we'll just add our flowers. So I'll probably just work out where I'm going to put my flowers. I'll just lay them out. Make sure I'm happy with where they're going to go. Maybe that one should go there. So after we've tied our double bow, we're just going to attach it. I'm going to sit it probably somewhere about there. That'll just take a couple of minutes to... I'm just going to attach this flower at the base of the bow. I've got a couple of leaves here. I'll just tuck the leaves. Just tuck one at the top there, and the 2 little ones at the bottom. Oops, tuck that under there. Have our bow, just make it a little bit straight. Okay, and then what I might even do, I've got this little purple flower here. Sorry, I'm going to swap that. I've got a little pink flower here. Just going to give it a little bit. I'm just going to sit it up the top on the corner there. Just sit that one up there. Okay, and then what I decided to do, because I did have some flowers left over, so that's our box. I'll just put that to the side. Because we did have a couple of flowers left over, I've actually got 3 flowers left over. I just sort of thought that we might just put them on the front of the card just to finish that off. So I've just decided I'm going to glue that on just to get rid of that little bit of white space there. If you don't want to do that, you could also add, you know, you could put your mum's name on there, whatever you sort of want to, but I've just decided that for this exercise I'm just going to put the flowers there. So there we have it. So there's our card. We get the bottom of our box, sit that card inside, and we are done.